And we are live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Power Hour, the Positive Power Hour. I'm Dan, your host, and this is Nicole, my awesome co-host. Hope everybody's doing well. I want to welcome everybody. Those of you that are watching live, and those of you that are watching on recording on YouTube or on Facebook, wherever you might be finding us. Welcome tonight. I hope everybody got through all the rough rainstorms we had last week. It's a prime example to me, Nicole, about how life can change in an instant, right? We heard Melly says, I'm driving, so I won't be as active. Well, okay, yes, please don't be so active if you're driving. Pay attention to the road. But welcome, everybody. Anyway, I'm honored that you would put us on while you're driving home, Melinda. That is awesome, wherever it is you're driving to. But what I was starting to mention was that, we don't know what the next moment is going to bring. I remember the end of last year reading about the prognosticators saying that we were going to have a third year of drought, that they saw absolutely no chance of like a La Nina event where we'd get a ton of rain like happened back in '08. And we were just gonna, be become a dust bowl here, right? And now, miracle upon miracle, we've had all of this rain, and most areas have more rain than they get the entire year. So we just don't know. And the importance of understanding that, to me, is critical to getting where you want to go in your life. Because if you think you know where something is going to go and how things are going to work out, you don't know. So, just do your best every single day, no matter what it is. Do your best and let it go. And as an old boss of mine used to say all the time, control what you can control. And the reality is there isn't a whole lot that we have control over, right? What's the thing we have the most control over, Nicole?
What's the most that ourselves?
Our attitudes, right?
Our attitudes. Okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing we can control. The mind, we can try to control the mind, but that's like a big challenge and worth fighting for. Don't get me wrong. You definitely need to harness that monkey in. But for the most of us, the thing that we have total control over and don't exercise enough is our attitude. So what kind of an attitude do you want to have? Do you want to be a defeatist, or do you want to be one of those people that says, I'm going to make it happen no matter what, no matter how long it takes? That brings me back to one of my favorite quotes that I've seen in recent years. Entrepreneurship is living a few life. Let me start over. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. That's entrepreneurship. Now, what if it's more than a few years? It's a question I ask myself from time to time. I've mentioned it on this broadcast. When do you say enough? I can't do this anymore. I quit, right? I don't know. But here's what I do know is that I would rather be putting energy into a direction I want to go in than keep giving energy to a direction I don't want to go in. To work towards a goal and an accomplishment and something that gives your heart, makes your heart sing. Today I got to spend the day mostly doing exactly what I love doing. And it's amazing the way it makes you feel when you're working on something that is a goal of yours and is a passion of yours, to give it energy and just be in that. It's a feeling I can't even describe, but it's so much different than putting your clothes on in the morning, getting dressed and going to work on a job that you don't even like, working for people that are difficult to work with, and living somebody else's dream, because the work you're doing for them is their dream. It isn't yours. It's putting a roof over your head, absolutely, and absolutely that's important, right? And it doesn't mean that having a job is a bad thing, because whether you're an entrepreneur or you are working for somebody else, it's all just putting out your energy in exchange. You're exchanging your lifetime, your energy, for dollars. And we all have to do it because that's the way this world is set up, right? So if that's the case, and we all have to do something in exchange for money, why not have it be something that you really enjoy? And I think you and I have talked about this, and I think maybe we even talked about it on our broadcast here about schools being set up poorly. In that, I don't know many people that get out of high school or even go into college knowing exactly what they want to be and what they want to do. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to like a lawyer or a person who was a lawyer who decided that that wasn't where they wanted to go after they've got all that time in education and the money it takes to get that diploma and to become a lawyer, only to find out it wasn't where your juices flow, right? And so I've talked with young kids about this, about the fact that to me, the way we ought to set it up is that, especially in high school, but maybe even in junior high school, we start really showing our students how to find the direction they want to go in life. Now, how are you going to do that? Are you going to read about it in a book? I don't think so. Where you're going to learn about it is actually putting in apprenticeship time into different areas of the world. Like if you think you want to be a veterinarian, put a semester or a half a semester, whatever, in volunteering in a veterinarian hospital or dog grooming place, or whatever your passion is. If you think you want to be a nurse, do some volunteer work in a hospital or in a clinic, or that would be much more useful to helping you direct where you want to go in your life than trying to think about it. And I know for myself, I didn't know until I was in my 30s what really made my juices flow. And then by that time, I already had a family and all the responsibilities of life and all those things. And it's not easy to change careers when you've got a family to support, right? It's not easy. So wouldn't it be better if we had those programs? And I keep missing the word of what you call it when you apprenticeship, I guess is as good a word as any, of spending time in different fields so that you get an understanding of what makes your juices flow, what makes you the happiest, right? And I've never seen an entrepreneur that reached any kind of level of success. Well, I have seen some. I'll take that back. I know of a person very close to me who's very successful in business, but it's not their passion. It's a business, right? They know how to do it. They're very good at it. They're successful, but that's the thing is there's two types of businesses. There's the ones that are just about making money, and usually those people have an end goal of retiring at some point, selling the business or transferring it to the employees or whatever way they do that. But most of the time it's with an end in mind as to, I want to make this successful and then I'm going to retire and go do what I want to do, right? And then there's the entrepreneur that puts his heart and soul in it, and it means everything to him. Most restaurant owners are those kinds of people. They don't mind working 80 hours a week because it's their passion. They love to cook. They love the whole entertainment of cooking, the show that they put on, all of the aspects of it. They just love it, right? And that's true with a lot of people. So, when you decide to be an entrepreneur, part of what you have to decide is what kind of an entrepreneur do you want to be? Do you want to be the kind that, sees a product that he can sell and make some money and set up a good life for himself? If that's the case, that's fine. That kind of goes along with this, where living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. And so maybe that's more bent towards that guy that just wants to sell something and or provide a service or whatever, knowing that he can make X amount of dollars doing it, and that's okay. Like I know a guy that owns a tire shop, and he has the right attitude about it. He says, I believe that if I provide good service to my customers and I do it at a good, fair, honest price, that I'll be successful. And he says, and so far it's working just fine. Now, I don't know that that's his passion business. I don't get the sense that it is, right? But at least he's doing something in that he has some small amount of control over, right? He has to pay the government. He has to do the taxes and the books and all the stuff, the insurance and all the things that go on with it. But he'd rather do that than do the 9 to 5, right? At least he's his own boss. And yes, I always love that about being your own boss. And then when you become your own boss, you get to realize that you're working for every single customer that you've ever had. You're working for all the people that are working for you. You're working for all the vendors that come in to sell you things. And so, you've got more bosses than you ever thought you could have possible. But you also have a freedom that you'll never have working in a job, right? Unless it's a job with the right kind of owner, with the right kind of vision that you can embrace and say, this is something I want to be a part of, right? In fact, I know a guy who is in the real estate business, who was working for the owner of the company, who was so impassioned by the vision that the owner had that he actually tattooed the name of the business on his arm. And when I saw that, I went, wow, that's dedication. And I asked the owner, I said, what did you think when you saw that? He says, I was shocked. I couldn't believe anybody would do that, right? And yet, he says, and yes, he is just that devoted to the work and the company and what it's about. And see, that's that same kind of passion that I'm talking about, right? Is that it doesn't necessarily have to be your business, but remember this, you are the CEO of your own business already. The Nicole Kellis business, the Dan McBee business, the Melinda business, the Kimberlyn business. Everybody has their own business. It's their life. So most of us don't take enough responsibilities for those things, right? About controlling the things that we can control. By saying, no, I'm sorry, this isn't the right job for me. I need to go get something else, right? I need to find something else. Or this is exactly where I want to be. This makes my heart sing and I'm happy doing this, period, right? Now, I can tell you from many heartaches myself about entrepreneurism is that it's never always easy. What was that? Don't know? Okay. And it's never always easy, and it's sometimes really hard, right? But if it's something you believe in, if it's something you have passion for, you'll get by all that. That'll all go away and everything will be fine. So we're going back to our storms that we just experienced, and I guess we're getting a little more rain here tonight. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, right? We have no idea. Tonight, life can change. Who knows? So I want to be in the positive, and that's what the Power Hour is all about, right? Stay in that positive lane. There's enough negativity in the world that can suck you up and dry you out, and you won't even know what hit you, And that's why we're here, is to remind you to keep moving forward in your dream. Figure it out. If you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, that's okay. Most of us didn't know when we got out in the world, right? I always love that commercial about the insurance agent. Was it for insurance? I don't remember now. But anyway, this guy's in an office and he's just miserable. And suddenly he decides he wants to be an entrepreneur. So he rips off his coat and he runs outside and he's, yeah, I'm free, I'm free. And then all of a sudden he looks around and he's in a desert and he's isolated and there's nobody around him, right? He's going, oh my God, what did I do? Or the friend of mine that said that once he became an entrepreneur, he slept like a baby. Every 2 hours he woke up screaming at the top of his lungs.
That's what Garrett always says. He never understands why people say, oh, I slept like a baby. And he's like, oh, you slept like crap, huh?
Yeah, babies don't tend to sleep real well, right?
No.
But again, I really, I'm a strong believer in entrepreneurism and your children's generation, especially Nicole, they have really embraced the idea of entrepreneurism. And I think the pandemic had a lot to do with that because a lot of people had to stay home. They were forced to stay home. And so while they're sitting in their house, they're thinking, well, what can I do with my time? And then they got on YouTube and they saw people who were, creating their own businesses, their own blogs, their own podcasts, their own whatever they thought about, that they wanted to do. Maybe their niche was knitting. So they would have YouTube videos about knitting and they would offer classes on how to knit, right? And that has created all kinds of entrepreneurism. And so for those, dinosaurs that say, well, today's people are just lazy, they don't want to work. I don't agree. They don't want to be abused, and they're looking for other opportunities that they can, claim at least a little bit of their own destiny of where they want their life to go and how they want their life to be, right? So that's my rant for entrepreneurism tonight. and the rains again reminded me that we never know what's in store next, what's going to happen. Just before I got on the air, I got news that was kind of shocking to me. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that, right? And that's kind of how life works. And the more you understand that, the more you get out of the drama of life. And you just recognize that every moment of your life is different than the last. And since I don't know what's coming next, and I can't do anything about what happened a moment ago, all I have is this very moment. And in this very moment, I'm a real happy man, right? And in this moment, there's a lot of love on our channel.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a lot of positivity heading your way. And we're here to help you get where you want to go. And as you can see on the little poster I have behind me here, Mind Whispering the Whisper Way is all about getting your mind to be your friend instead of your enemy. Now, I know, Nicole, your mind was never your enemy. Your mind always worked for your best interests, right?
That's funny.
And we've talked at some levels about, what kind of stuff our mind was feeding us, right? And we all have that. And, I talk often about the beatings, that the beatings will continue until your attitude improves. And, as we talked about, the fact the only thing we have control over is our attitude. And most of us won't exercise that very often. And as strong as I am about being positive and about, not letting things get to me and stuff like that, I have those days too, just like everybody else. I know, shocking, right? But I do my best not to let it run very long. That to me is what the beating is. It's not the moment that you got pissed off or you said something and you wished you hadn't said it or something like that. It's when you beat yourself up for a week over it.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't do anything. It doesn't help anything or anyone, right? And there's that old saying that if you realized how seldom people think of you, you wouldn't worry about what they think of you. So if you said something, you did something didn't go the way you wanted, I guarantee you those people already forgot about it. And they're out doing, because they're worried about their own stuff. They don't care about yours, right? So
I'll never forget one time I showed up to the same place with the same shirt on like 2 weeks apart, right? And I thought, oh my gosh, I have the same shirt on I had the last time I came here. And a friend of mine said, really? I didn't remember what you wore.
Great
and
example,
I don't remember
right?
what others wear.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, and how many things have we worried about in our lives that we lose sleep over, that we are in that dark, isolated cave, that feeling of incomprehensible demoralization, the huddled masses living in quiet desperation, right? How many times have we all been there? Yeah, we've all had those moments, right? I'm grateful that I don't get many of those moments anymore. I don't let things fester too long most of the time. Does it happen? Of course it does. Ain't none of us perfect on this world. You know what happened to the last perfect man we had on the earth, right? Nailed him to the cross. Yeah. So, and that takes me to that saying that I love so much about get off the cross, we need the wood. Right? When we're just being so hard on ourselves, right? And it's like we're nailing ourselves to the cross, right? And it's like, yeah, get off it. We don't, we need the wood, right? So and that's the whole idea here is just to remind you, no matter what went wrong today or yesterday or last week or last year, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I love the analogy about the baseball players, right? 70% of the time they're failing and they make millions because, every baseball player, every professional athlete is an entrepreneur. They have their own business. They have to pay their own taxes as an independent business operator. And so they recognize that if they can succeed 30% of the time, they can make millions. So they can't afford the luxury of beating themselves up. That's when they go to the minors. That's when they get replaced by another player who has learned how to compartmentalize themselves. The past is the past. The future isn't here. All I have is this next at bat.
Yes.
This next running play. And they just keep working towards perfection to become the best they can be, the highest, the finest tuned athlete, right? They hire their own chefs and their own massage therapists and physical therapists and psychiatry, sports psychology. They'll hire therapists to help them get that mind in the right place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so being our own entrepreneur, the business of Nicole Kellis, she has to, my dear friend that has his own marketing business, I've mentioned to you guys in the past. Where is he? Right here, Heart-Centered Marketing, Joey Ragona. On his Facebook Live, he does every Tuesday at 4:00 Pacific Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook. he talked last week about how the problem with being a solopreneur is that you get used to doing everything yourself. Nobody can market your business like you can. Nobody can make the package like they can, and yeah, and so you do everything yourself. The reality is nobody can do that. You can't succeed that way because there's only 8 hours in the day, right? So unlearning that habit of doing everything yourself for yourself just is not easy in the beginning. It's like you have to give up control, right? And entrepreneurs tend to be kind of control freaks in some ways, right? They, they don't do well with authority. They know better than the other guy what's going on and how it should go. That's kind of the way the entrepreneur is, just like somebody else we know. There's the entrepreneurism, and there's drug addicts and alcoholics, and all of those are all people that have control issues, right? And so with the business, you have to let go and hire people that can do the things that isn't your passion. In fact, when I still am basically, or technically, a member of the CEO Space, which is a business training group. The founder died, and time will tell what happens with the business. But one of their greatest sayings was, if it isn't your passion, it isn't your job. And that was that whole idea about you can't do it all, right? And you can't be an expert at everything. Now, there are some areas that perhaps you are the one that knows the most about it. And in that regard, it isn't that you have to do it, but you have to have experience in it. It's like, I'm not a social media marketing person. That alone is a business that takes years of practice and training and understanding, right? So if I wanted to learn how to do social media the right way, I'd have to spend another 10 years probably just to reach the level that people are already at, right? So wouldn't it make more sense for me to invest in somebody that's really good at advertising in a social media way, which is what this work really is all about, right? Is reaching people who want to expand their lives in a better way than what they're experiencing now. And the best way you can do that is by working with somebody that knows how to get there, right? And that's my expertise. If you have a mind that's driving you nuts, I know what that's like. I went through that. Nicole didn't have to, but right? You didn't have to go through that, did you?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, right. So, we know how to walk you through that. We know how to help you recognize when your mind is beating you up, because quite often you'll be going along just, you'll have that whip, hitting you on the back of the shoulders. You're beating yourself as you're walking down the street, and you don't even realize it. Yeah. So with Mind Whispering the Whisper Way, adding the Whisper products that'll help let go of that energy, with having a support system around you that's only interest is helping you to succeed in where you want to go, compared to the mind that's constantly telling you, you can't do that. Yes. Are you crazy?
Only positivity. Only positivity.
Yeah, only positivity.
Yes.
There's nothing. Well, I always love to say there's nothing you can't do if you set your mind to it. That's not true, right? We've talked about that. You can all day long want to be a center in the NBA, but if you're standing 5'4" and weigh 95 pounds, the odds are great you're not going to make it as an NBA center, no matter how hard you work at it, no matter how passionate you are about accomplishing that. It's like that dear friend of mine I've talked about before. Before, who that's live broadcast. Love it. Who loved ballet and studied for years to be a ballerina, right? And she was very, very good. But then genetics kicked in and her body type changed to a body that wouldn't work as a ballerina. And it broke her heart. I mean, my God, that was her passion, right? And she had to find a different way. Now she's learned that she can be an instructor, and she loves teaching. So that worked, but she had to make adjustments, right? If you stay stuck in I'm going to be this and that and that's it, it's kind of what I did. It's hard, right? So we have to be flexible. And regardless of whether you're working your own business or you're working in somebody else's business, your business is about being kind and loving to yourself. No matter what environment you find yourself in, the most important friend you can have is the one that's with you all the time. That's your soul. Your soul only wants love, right?
Yes.
And my awesome partner, Kate, went shopping today. And for most of us, that doesn't sound like a big deal. For Kate, that's a big deal, right? To get up and go out and go to the store and do something like that, it's not her everyday way, right? So she went shopping for some things for herself, which was really nice to see her get some things that she needed. And she got something we needed for the house that I had wanted. And she wanted it too. But normally it would be I'd pick it up when I was out shopping and she'd just, that'd just be the way it went. But today she did it, and we talked about it, and she said, I have to admit, it really made me feel good to do that. And that sounds so unimportant, right? But if you don't have that spirit in you that says, I want to go do this and I want to go do that and do something like this, if that's not how things are working for you, and you have that experience and you feel that feeling of I did something for somebody else other than myself, right? That's soul food. That's it. I love it when I can make somebody feel better, right? Sometimes it's just a smile, right? Sometimes it's, I do a little stand-up comedy right in my checkout line at Best Buy, right? I'm constantly making little jokes and little comments and things that make people laugh. And that feeds my soul all day long, right? So, and again, that's a case of maybe not being where you want to be, but making it positive for yourself, right?
Yes.
And that's true. I don't want to work for somebody else. That's not my passion, right? But I'm working towards my passion. And like I said today, I got to spend my entire day doing exactly what feeds my soul and moves in the direction that I want to move in, right? And that was really good. That really made me feel wonderful. And so that's the feeling I want for all of you, right? Whether you're watching this on a rebroadcast or a little snippet commercial or whatever happens, if you're watching this, I just want to remind you, be kind to yourself. When you're kind to yourself, you'll find yourself being kinder to others. It's kind of funny how it works, right? It's that inside job we talk about so often. That I want to see if we had any new comments here. Not yet. It's that inside out job, right? We have to go from being self-centered to caring more about other people. But the way that you get about doing that is by recognizing how you're feeling inside. So it's kind of weird how it all works, but it really does work like that, right? Is you get to realize that the real joy in life isn't what you get, it's what you give.
Yes.
Right? And no matter how little you may think you have in a material sense, we're all extremely wealthy in our energy, if we choose to be, and in our attitude, right? In our kindness for others, right? And, it's, I talk all the time about how every day I get to see somebody who reminds me to be grateful for what I have. maybe it's a guy that's like I had a number of customers this week who were just really grumpy people, unhappy people, right? And in my past, I would look at those people and think, Jesus, what the hell's the matter with them, right? But you get to realize that you don't know where they've been. You don't know what's happened in their life, right? And so for those people, I try a little harder to be a little nicer, right? In fact, I had one guy who was just being awful. And his wife was looking at him like, God, you're such a jerk, right? And as he walked away, he didn't even, I said, well, have a good day, sir. And he just, and as he walked further away, I said, I hope your day turns out good, sir. Take care, right? And I meant it. I hope something happens that helps him to snap out of whatever it is he's in, right? But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's got physical pain that just has beaten him down to a point where he just has a hard time being happy, right? And I've seen people like that. And then I see people that have one leg and they're smiling a God-loving smile and they're just happy with the world, right? And so excuse me, every day I get to see somebody who reminds me in some way or another to be grateful for my financial situation in life, because there are people that have far less than I do, for the health that they have, because God has blessed me with a pretty healthy body through most of my life, right? The high energy level that I get to have most of the time. As I'm getting older, I get to see how, my parents would say, yeah, well, you'll see what happens as you get older. It gets different, right? And you may have the same energy, but you don't get to have it for as long a period of time as you did when you were 20 and 30. You've noticed that already for yourself, haven't you, Nicole?
Yeah, for sure. As you get
Yeah.
older, things shift.
Things shift. Yeah. Did you say, is that SHIFT?
Yes,
Oh,
shift.
okay. I wanted to make sure. But that's the thing, right? Is things change, and that goes to what we started off with, right? We were talking about having a drought for another year, and oh my God, the rivers are drying up, and oh my God, what's going to happen? The world, the gloom and doom, and oh my goodness, right? And when you're young, you tend to buy into all that crap, and you got yourself running all over the place because they're telling you something bad's going to happen, right? And then what you get to realize is that life is just life. It's going to do what it's going to do, and it's going to all work out. My dear friend George used to always tell Kate, Kate, don't worry about it. Everything will work out and everything will be okay, right? And that's what, hopefully, as you mature in life, you get to have the wisdom of the years that you've spent on this earth. It's not true for everybody. I see a lot of older people than I who are still wrapped in. Have you ever seen that guy? You've seen him, I'm sure. This is just a generic guy, right? Who's, excuse me, maybe in his 40s, who still wears the baseball cap backwards on his head, still smokes the Marlboros, right? Goes into the store to buy two cans of beer, right? The guy who just refuses to grow up. He's so stuck in that mindset, right? And we're all like that to some degree. My friend George used to say about my dad that, you're not trying to change your dad, are you? I said, no, my dad's my dad. He goes, yeah, because he's at that age where he's what was it he was saying? That they're set in their ways, right? They've lived that way for so long, you're not going to get them to see it a different way. We see that in our politics today, right? We see it in the racism that's still prevalent in our society, of where people can't see past color or religion or whatever the thing is you're deciding that makes them less than you, right? When the reality is we're all God's children, every single one of us, right? And what I like to say about dark-skinned people is that quite obviously God cared for them more than they did the white-skinned people, because he gave them more pigment than he gave us, right? Just a little cute little thing, right? But I mean, really, isn't it really just because of that color or the difference that we see in other people that we have to judge that they're less than we are? And forgetting the fact that we're all God's children, and what we ought to be doing is help lift people up rather than put them down, right?
Yes.
So for our power hour this week, let's resolve to do more to help lift people up. Even if our position in life isn't where we want to be today, doesn't mean we can't do something to help make things a little better for somebody else. Because the amazing thing about giving is, I love that saying that you can't outgive God, right? And you can't. But it's fun trying. And the amazing thing about giving is that you get back in ways you never imagined.
Absolutely.
When you give
Absolutely.
the idea that I'm going to give and they're going to give back to me, that's the way I used to be. I used to think that if I was this really nice guy, everybody would recognize how wonderful I am, and they'd all heap praise on me and, give me the $100,000 a year job because Dan's such a nice guy, right? And then I'd have to drink myself to sleep because nobody was doing that stuff, right? So what turns around is when you start to give without any thought for yourself.
Yes.
And then you start seeing real miracles happen in your life. People just walk in all of a sudden going, hey, it's like that woman that was scared about waiting for the call from her doctor about telling her whether she had cancer or not. I keep hoping she'll come into the store and just let me know what she found out, right? Even if it's cancer, I'd love to know and be able to, share with her about that, right? But either way, I know I made a difference that day. And that's one of those miracles that you don't know that's going to come your way, is when God brings someone into your life to make a difference, right? Yes. And what does that feed?
My soul. Yeah.
Right? And it's giving back something that God gave to you so freely, right? God spared me that cancer journey that I went on and came out so well. And in fact, I share that it was an amazing journey, and I was really grateful for it, right? Because I got to wonderful doctors and nurses and all the people that helped me to get to heal and to get back on track. And I got to see people that, that cared about me that I didn't even know, work coworkers or whatever, but to see the impact that you have on people. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So let's resolve this week, knowing the fact that we don't know what the next moment's going to be, what's going to happen, what's going to come our way, what's going to be taken away from us. We have no idea, right?
Right.
But if we can stay locked into, I am going to be there. I'm going to be present. I'm not going to shadow my future with my past. I'm going to be clear-eyed and have untinted glasses on.
Yes.
So that I can see clearly that all of this is God's work. It's not mine.
Yes.
Whatever happens is going to happen, no matter what I do. People ask me on the line, well, how's your day going? I says, it's going no matter what I do. It's just the day just goes on, right? So until God calls me home and I take my dirt nap, I'm going to keep giving everything I can. It's like I told my boss, I'm going to work as hard as I can to do a good job for you until either you fire me, I quit, or God takes me home. But either way, that's the way it's going to go. I'm going to give you my best. And if that's good enough for you, great. If it isn't, that's okay. I'll walk away knowing I did all I could, right? And
Yes.
when I operate my life that way, it gets much easier to accept what goes on, right? If it wasn't meant to be, then it's not going to be, and that's okay. But I gave it my best, right?
Yes.
Work hard. What's that saying I have? I have it over here. Work hard and stay humble,
Yes.
right? Work hard and stay humble. Kate came home from the store and I look at her and I go, God, I kicked my own ass today. I was really wiped out by the time she came home, right? I did a lot of stuff and it felt really good, right? But I used to be able to do that. I remember do you remember years ago you said to me one day that you're a morning person, aren't you, Dad? And I said, yeah. She goes, but you're a night person too. How do you do that? Do you remember that?
Yes.
That's the way it used to be for me. Now I'm in bed by 9 most days, right? Sometimes even earlier than that. Oh well. I'm still grateful for the energy that I have, for the great grace that God has shed on my life every single day. And I am going to spend the rest of my life, as I promised, doing everything I can. Jimmy Carter, did you read the post Jimmy Carter put out when he announced that he was entering hospice? He said, my faith demands that I do everything I can for everyone that I can as long as I can. And that's the way I choose to live my life.
Yeah, I like
What
that.
a wonderful example, right? A man that most people thought was a horrible president, but he wasn't. He was an awesome man, married to the same woman for all of these years and raised a family and had a successful business and a God-fearing man who in his 80s and 90s was building homes for Habitat for Humanity, right? There's a
Yes.
man who walked the walk and talked the talk. He wasn't just full of himself. He was about being humble and doing what he could to help other people. What a great example for all of us that we, as much as we might think we're giving or as much as we think we might be doing, we're not. We could do more,
Yes.
right? We could do more. We don't always know whether something we're doing is helping somebody or not, right? It's like the old battle about homeless people on the curb, right? Do you give them money or do you give them food or do you give them nothing because they've got to learn their own lessons and grow out of the level that they're at? I don't know the answer to that, nor does anybody else, right?
No.
But if you're giving it to them because it's puffing you up, because look what a great guy I am, I'm giving them money, then don't do it because it's not the right reason, right? If you do it because you think maybe it's a hot day and they could use a water, and I have a friend that used to carry a case of water with him everywhere he went, because in his driving everywhere he stopped, somebody would be asking him for money, right? He said, I wouldn't give him money, but I'd give him water. And
Yes.
that might sound cheap, but my thought was that water will sustain them. Money they will probably put into wine or some other thing, right? And so he wanted to have at least some control over what he was giving that would hopefully be helpful for the person, right? So again, as we're closing here soon, I got told that we closed too abruptly. So
People just want more.
I'm edging us out the door, right?
Really?
Just reminding everybody this week, give a little more, expect a little less,
Yes.
right? And see how much you get to feed your soul. Give a little energy to where you want to go with your life. Look at your life and see what areas could use a little cleaning up or a little attention or a little fixing up or whatever, right? Are you giving a little energy to the direction you want to go in your life, or are you just doing the 9 to 5, go home, you know, pet the dog and kick the wife, or the old sayings, right? But are you giving some energy to where you really want to go in life? Because I can tell you, being in my later years now, that it really does go by really fast, right?
Yes.
So don't waste a day.
No.
Yeah, give some energy to what the way you want your life to look. I'm really proud of my daughter. I tell her this from time to time, but I'm going to do it publicly right now. My daughter took her life. She finally, she decided, like we all have to, that she needed to make changes. And she made a lot of changes. Comfortable? No, I don't think so. Was she sure the direction she was going in? No, no, not at all. But she gained a vision for herself of what the way she wanted her life to look. And I can tell you from being on the outside, because I do my best not to meddle in her life. And whatever her life is the way her life is, and God bless her for it. But I'm so proud of the woman she's become, the awesome mother that she is, the awesome daughter that she is, the awesome person that she is.
Thank you,
I'm
Pop.
grateful as a father, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she did that. Just
Thank
as each of you are creating your life in the direction you want to go in. And that's what we're here for, is to help you all move in that direction you want to go into, right? So, Nicole, if somebody in our audience tonight sees somebody that doesn't have a smile, what do you think they should do?
Give them one of theirs.
Why?
They're free.
Yeah,
They'll
they're
help
free.
someone.
And
Yes.
make them feel so much better, right?
Yes.
Just a smile can make all the difference in the world.
Yes.
So I love you all very much. I hope that your day goes well, that your life is moving in the direction you want it to move in. And remember that we are here for you every Monday. And if you need anything at all, let us know, and we'll be here to help you in any way we can. So for tonight, the Power Hour, Nicole and myself wish you all the best in the world, and we will see you next Monday, God willing.
Yes.
Take care.
Have
Good
a
night.
great week.